Hello and welcome to the introduction of our Western film for Film Studies of American Culture. We're going to be talking about The Searchers. So first we're going to talk about the Western genre, the American Film Institute's top Western film. So let's go get into it. Number one, The Searchers, the film we're going to watch here in class. You need to watch at home. Number two, High Noon, Cary Grant movie. Number three, Shane, very sad ending to that movie. Four, Unforgiven, starring the great Clint Eastwood. Number five, Red River. I think that's another John Wayne movie. The Wild Bunch. Number six, which is, I think, a biker movie, actually. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is Paul Newman and Robert Redford from the 70s. Very cool movie. McCabe and Mrs. Miller. I'm not sure on that one. Stagecoach. John Wayne's really first big movie. And then Cat Ballou, another John Wayne movie, which is kind of ironic. If you look at this list, none of the spaghetti westerns of Clint Eastwood, the famous westerns filmed in Italy and Spain, are even on the list. So here's my list. Number one, A Few Dollars More, kind of a surprising one of the trilogy of the spaghetti westerns. It is my personal favorite. I think it's the best made. It doesn't have as much fluff as maybe The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is a great movie, great soundtrack, but just kind of goes a little long. So number two is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Number three, The Searchers. Number four, Unforgiven. I got three of the top four are Clint Eastwood. You can tell I probably like Clint Eastwood movies. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, very fun movie, different take on the Western. Six, Tombstone. That one's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. A lot of nights in college watching this on a VCR, kind of on repeat, kind of almost quoted a lot. Dances with Wolves, the Kevin Costner movie from the early 90s. Blazing Saddles, I know it's inappropriate. I know it's a comedy, but it's a Western by golly, and I really like it. Back to the Future Part 3. Yeah, I'm kind of stretching all of these. You can probably tell I haven't watched a ton of Westerns, or some of them are just kind of the same thing. I mean, I've seen The Magnificent Seven and things like that. Just didn't like it. And then Young Guns. There's a lot of movies from my childhood on this one right here. The story of Billy the Kid and his gang. I like Young Guns too. You get the Bon Jovi soundtrack going on. I love that. All right, so let's introduce the Searchers, based on the Alan LeMay's novel. It stars John Wayne, Jeffrey Hunter, Vera Miles, and a very young Natalie Wood. It's directed by the great Western director John Ford. This movie has a huge influence over Hollywood. So did John Ford. It was a modest success commercially. It was ignored by critics until recently. There was just so many Westerns coming out in the 1950s. I mean, it was the go-to genre. It's kind of like animated and superhero movies are today, but this was the one. I mean, everyone did westerns. There was Western TV shows. That all changed the very next year because the Soviets launched Sputnik, and then suddenly everybody got into space and aliens and UFOs and things like that. If you've ever seen Toy Story, actually, that's Buddy and Woody and Buzz is based on that. Woody was the cowboy, and in the 50s, when Sputnik comes out, everything went Space Rangers, and that's Buzz Lightyear. This was mainly filmed in Monument Valley, Utah, which if you've ever been to Monument Valley, Utah, in Arizona right there, is beautiful. Nothing like what Texas looks like. This movie's supposed to be set in Texas. Some scenes were actually filmed in Aspen and Gunnison, Colorado, so our neck of the woods. It's also filmed in Alberta, Canada, Arizona, and California. This was possibly based on the Cynthia Ann Parker's real-life abduction by the Comanche Native Americans, which was a very popular tale in the Old West. There was books and serials written about this. So the film, it was a favorite film for Martin Scorsese, for George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Quentin Tarantino. A lot of things were pretty much lifted from this film. John Wayne considered Ethan Edwards to be his favorite character ever played. In fact, he named his son Ethan right after it. It was a large influence over the movie Taxi Driver, Star Wars, as you can see here. Pretty much ripped off that scene there. Dances with Wolves, Saving Private Ryan, Apocalypse Now, and of course the movie we just watched, Lawrence of Arabia. David Lean, when he was making Lawrence of Arabia, would watch The Searchers over and over again to recreate shots, to kind of recreate the look and the feel. His Arabs, his tribes were basically the same as the Native Americans. It was amongst the first 25 movies to be selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry in 1989. On AFI, this is the 12th greatest film. It was only 96 in 1997. This is the greatest Western. John Wayne is the 13th greatest film legend, which I'm sure maybe Some of you Western or John Wayne fans take offense to that. He should be maybe ranked a little higher. John Wayne's performance was rated the 87th greatest performance by Premiere Magazine. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 100% rating, 100% certified fresh, which makes it number 69. I'm not sure about their math, remember. They Shoot Pictures, Don't They? Is number 10. John Ford is the 10th greatest director of all time. Entertainment Weekly is the 13th greatest movie and the greatest Western of all time. On all of these lists that I put out here, this is the highest ranked Western movie. It's on the AMC film site list. It's on Time Magazine's list. On IMDb, it is not currently in the top 250, but it does have an average fan vote or fan rating of an 8.0. It was not nominated for any Academy Awards. The British have it number 7 on the critics list, which is very high, and 48 on the director's list. So without further ado, I hope you can find the Searchers and watch it at home. If you wanted to answer some questions there, that's good for you. You can do a little practice. Otherwise, happy viewing.